Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast, episode 920 of the Real Deal Podcast, as we look back at a week number 5 in the NFL. A lot to talk about. AI is taking over. I'm not talking about Allen Iverson. I'm on Zoom, and now they have an AI companion, which I have no idea what that even entails. I just saw it. Just saw it before I went on. So, telling you, get to know AI. Like is here. It's not coming. It's here. So, just thought I'll share that with you. Themes of the week for this week: Hackett gets the last laugh in a NFC Championship rematch. We'll talk about that. But first, we're going to begin with all the thoughts. Buffalo falls to Jacksonville 25-20 in a game that was completely, for the most part, dominated by Jacksonville. They were up basically the entire game. Buffalo looked completely out of it as far as being flat. And listen, I cannot. First of all, Jacksonville is a pretty good team. If you listen to this podcast, you know that I'm a big believer in Trevor Lawrence as a franchise quarterback. I think he's very good. I think he's going to be good for a long time. In Jacksonville, there were a lot of people that were picking Jacksonville. Not a lot, but a few people that were picking Jacksonville as kind of like a sleeper AFC Championship, possible Super Bowl, which I don't quite see that. But listen, they have a lot of talent. They have some talent. Nice pieces. Not actually they have a lot of talent, but they have some nice pieces, and they will be definitely in the playoff mix. But I'm not going to go too crazy about this loss from a Bills perspective. I'm sure Robert Sapp was not happy. He's not happy when they win sometimes. So I'm definitely sure that he was not too pleased about this performance. But these London games are like Thursday night games. They are I would never bet. If I were a betting man, I would never bet on any of these games, London or Thursday night, because you just never know. The short time period, the short time span for the short week for Thursday, the traveling, across the globe, across the pond for London start time. These teams are starting to get in a few days earlier, like basically almost not a whole week earlier, but like. Teams are flying in like on a Tuesday, but that still doesn't matter. Like your body still has to adjust. Especially professional athletes, football players have a routine that their bodies have a certain clock. They are creatures of habit. So anything can throw that off. I don't care how much you have to adjust or how, like you used to the same practice schedule, you used to the same rhythm, the same everything, weight training, all that. So these games, you just never know with these games. And this game was not, like I said, as well as Buffalo was playing, it did not surprise me that they lost to Jacksonville. Jacksonville, could beat Buffalo on a regular day, to be honest with you. So I'm not going to read too much into this game. Excellent. And because Jacksonville, to be honest with you, the thing that would bother me from a Buffalo standpoint is Jacksonville. I know Jacksonville had like 400 or close to 500 yards of offense, but they didn't play great. Like this wasn't a grade A plus Jacksonville performance. I would give Jacksonville probably like a B plus in this game. They did have a couple of turnovers. They left points on the board. But Buffalo was absolutely just could not get out of his own way in the first half. In particular, talking about only having like 7 points in the first half. So again, these are one of these performances that if you're Buffalo, again, I think you just kind of like toss it aside and keep it moving. Because you're talking about, but now it still is an annoying loss because it's a conference loss and possible playoff positioning, home field advantage. So it still matters from that standpoint. So you don't like the loss. But I can't read too much into it. I can't put too much stock into this loss, to be honest with you. One way or the other. I'm not going to react to Jacksonville winning or react to Buffalo losing. Marquee games. This was supposed to be a marquee game, and it turned out to be, you know, like a football version of Crawford Spence. Um, San Francisco absolutely just annihilated the Dallas Cowboys. And again, listen. If you saw this game, you absolutely know what happened. I'm not going to reenact what transpired. We know that right now, these like they're not Dallas is not in San Francisco's class. They're not in Philadelphia's class. They're not in the class of a few teams in the NFL right now. I'm gonna give a big picture. I'm gonna make a big picture point for the Dallas Cowboys. I ain't even talking about this season. I'm talking about beyond the season. Looking at Dak Prescott, right? And then again, it's easy to blame for Dak Prescott. He was terrible in this game, but so was the Dallas defense. That defense was horrible. So Micah Parsons, I don't want to hear from any of the defensive players any more talking. I just don't want to hear from them because the defense, San Francisco, the 49ers did whatever they wanted to offensively against that defense, whatever they wanted to. But thinking about Dak Prescott, he has an out in his contract. He has one more season left on his contract, which will be a $59 million cap hit in 2024. Right? You traded for Trey Lance. Now, normally, if Dak were that dude and the Cowboys actually believed in him, it would be automatic that he would get a super massive contract extension this summer and would make him one of the highest paid quarterbacks and players in the NFL. Period. That would be a foregone conclusion. But as you all know, that's the furthest thing from being a foregone conclusion. You're talking about a guy that, frankly, the team doesn't believe in as a whole. Henceforth, the Trey Lance trade. And I said this when I was previewing the NFC East back in August, and I told y'all this. I was not joking when I said 5 questions for the NFC East. Will Dak Prescott finish this season as the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys? I was not joking when I said that. Even if he's healthy, I was not I was not having fun with the Cowboys, having fun with the Cowboy fans, trying to poke at the Cowboy fans. No, I was dead serious when I said that because this thing to me is not going to end well. And I'm telling you right now, the trade deadline is in 3 weeks. 3 weeks from today. I think it's 4 p.m. on Halloween night, Halloween day. It would not. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm telling you right now, it would not be the worst thing to trade Dak Prescott if his performance doesn't pick up, or if Dallas starts losing some more games. Because here's the thing: you're not giving him a ridiculous contract after next year, after this summer, and he's not going to take a Dallas discount at the age of 30, 31. These are his prime years. Okay. Even if he, let's say Dallas does make the playoffs and he has a decent year, he's still going to want market value, which is for a starting quarterback. He's making 40 now. He's going to want market value for a quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. A quarterback on a playoff team is anywhere from 45 to 50 million. That's market value. He's not taking a haircut as a starting quarterback in the NFL. It's just not happening. So trading him, there'll still be some teams out there that would think that they're Dak Prescott away from possibly getting to the playoffs, or maybe even further. And you're going to get some capital in terms of draft picks, but I just don't see how this thing plays out well for either Dak Prescott or the Dallas Cowboys if he remains on that roster past this season. I don't see how I cannot envision a situation where they pay Dak Prescott, they give Dak Prescott a massive contract extension. I really think this is going to be his last year with the Dallas Cowboys. To be perfectly honest with you, but if you're Dallas and you want something for him, I think trading him would not be the worst thing. It wouldn't be, because the worst thing you could do is give him a massive contract extension. You will end up like the Denver Broncos with Russell Wilson. And remember, Russell Wilson, this fall off has been quick. This fall off that Russell Wilson has had is not is it happened quickly. And Dak Prescott at in his best day was at his absolute peak was never as good as Russell Wilson was. So Dak is not going to get any better than he is right now. He's not getting better. He will not get better. It's only going to get worse. So you're waiting. I mean, he's 30 years old now. He is who he is as a quarterback. You hit 30 as a quarterback. You've been in the league for 7, 8 years. You are who you are at this point. You are who you are. That's it. So, Russell Wilson, like I said, he's never on his best day has never been as good as Russell Wilson. So his fall off will probably be even worse than what Russell Wilson's is right now. If you're Dallas, you don't want to end up in the same situation that Denver is, giving a ridiculous contract extension and then your franchise tying up your franchise to where you will have to lose some valuable pieces probably coming off that defense. You got to play Parsons at some point. You got to play CeeDee Lamb at some point. I mean, you have to play this other cornerback that's been great for him as well. Not Trayvon Diggs. They already paid him, but they have another cornerback that's played well. You're going to pay him. So that's the thought that ran through my head as I'm watching him throw interception after interception, as I'm watching him being thoroughly, and I mean thoroughly outplayed by Brock Purdy. Thoroughly outplayed. Like it wasn't even close from that standpoint. And I'll say this about the 49ers. Listen, they are right now the most complete team in football. It's not even a question from that standpoint. It's just a matter of them staying healthy. If Brock Purdy, first of all, Brock Purdy, keeps playing like this, he's going to be the MVP of the league. And no one will beat the 49ers if Brock Purdy plays at this level. No one. They are too balanced. Obviously, they're well coached. And that team is like, they are loaded up and down from 1 to 53. They are the most complete team in football from 1 to 53. Really have no visible weaknesses. Maybe you can go after their secondary a little bit, but the pass rush is insane. So they can kind of they can mask the secondary a bit with their coverages, and also because their front seven is dominant. They have the best front seven in football, period. The best front seven in football. It's just a matter of them keeping, obviously, Purdy healthy, but more importantly, keeping Christian McCaffrey healthy. That is job one for Kyle Shanahan. They've got to kind of like navigate Christian McCaffrey through this season because his usage, to take an NBA term, a little high right now. I would kind of really monitor that if I'm San Francisco. You want that guy. You have to have that guy for January. Because outside of Purdy, he's your most valuable player. Maybe Trent Williams is right there as well at the left tackle. That's how dominant he is. So, but right now, there's the most complete team in football. And like I said, if Purdy keeps playing at this level, there's no question that they will not only go to the Super Bowl, but they'll win the Super Bowl. I love this game. Baltimore falls to Pittsburgh 17-10. This was an absolute throwback game to the Steelers-Ravens games of the past. Just physical, knock each other's heads off type defense. A vintage defensive performance, especially in the second half by Pittsburgh, holding Baltimore scoreless in the second half. Really, just a beautiful performance by Pittsburgh defense. And Pickett made the plays that he had to make. Of course, the touchdown to Pickens. We know Pickens has a chance to be a tremendous receiver. They always get him in Pittsburgh. Always, this receiver university with the Steelers. Listen, it's the discourse with Lamar Jackson from week to week is kind of becoming annoying because not like 1 week he's the greatest quarterback ever. Next week, we were not quite sure about him. Lamar Jackson is fine. Like Lamar Jackson is playing the best football of his career. They had 6 drops on Sunday. 6. It's a lot. 6. So it wasn't on Lamar on Sunday. You can now, by the way, you can't have the interception in the red zone at 10-3. That was an absolute changing play. That interception, you can't have that. You absolutely can't have that. Or it was either 10-3 or 10-5. But that, I mean, if they score on that, forget about a touchdown. If they score a field goal on that, I think the game probably is over. To be honest with you, the way that game was going, Pittsburgh offense was non-existent for the first 3 quarters. But Pittsburgh, I mean, the story of this game was the Pittsburgh defense. The Pittsburgh defense in the second half was just off the charts. Like it was a throwback, to the James Harrison, Troy Polamalu, Kevin Green, like to the vintage Pittsburgh defense. James Farrier, Cornell Lake, Rod Woodson, like they were looking like those Steelers in that second half. TJ Watt has been, every time I've seen TJ Watt play this year, he's been just like the Terminator. Like he's just destroying stuff this year. He has absolutely been a monster. And we know how great TJ Watt is anyway, but every time I've watched him this year, the offensive lines have no chance of blocking him. You just can't block this dude. You just can't. And he finds a way, even when he's not getting pressure on a quarterback or destroying your running back, he finds a way to be in the right place at the right time with a fumble recovery and what have you. Of course, I think he has a touchdown earlier this season. So he has been absolutely all over the place. And Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh is who they are. The standard is the standard. We know they're not vintage. We know they're not quite there offensively yet. They're not there. I mean, Pickett's not there. The running game is okay. The offensive line is not what it used to be. But defensively, they can bring it up. They can really turn it up defensively and give you one of those throwback performances. This was a very big missed opportunity for the Baltimore Ravens. Let me tell you why. You look at losses and you say, it's 1 of 17. Okay. 17 games. All of them matter, of course. A loss in September can hurt your playoff positioning or keep you outright out of the playoffs in general. This one, if Baltimore wins this game, they would have been 4-1. So they've been 4 games ahead of Pittsburgh as well as Cincinnati. But more importantly, they have been 3-0 in the division on the road. Remember, they beat Cleveland on the road, they beat Cincinnati on the road. Like the division, I think frankly the division's over at that point. Minus, of course, a Lamar Jackson injury. But I think the division almost would have been over. They would have had a 3-game lead with 3 games at home against those teams. Now they're still going to have an advantage because they end up they're 3-2 and they're 2-1 on the road, which is fine. You'll take 2-1 on the road. But they really had 3-0 on the road in your division is like gold. Like that doesn't happen that often. To be honest with you, especially in today's NFL with the talent being as spread out as it is. So that was a absolute golden opportunity for Baltimore to take this division by the throat and really, have their, really be in total control of this division. But now, Cincinnati won this week. You got Pittsburgh to tie with Pittsburgh. In essence, Pittsburgh has a tiebreaker because they beat them, but they're now for like a 11-week dogfight, to be honest with you. 12-week dogfight for this division. They're going to have to earn this division now because they've brought everybody to them. Like everybody's within a game. Everybody's either tied or within a game of them. So a golden opportunity missed for the Baltimore Ravens. Great win for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just tremendous win for them. A game that they actually, did not even play well for the most part offensively, but were able to hang around and take it and finish the job in the fourth quarter. So the deep dive, Jonathan Taylor signed a 3-year, $42 million contract extension. Only Christian McCaffrey is making more, and also in certain categories, Alvin Kamara is making more than Taylor as a running back. Here's the thing. So it's not even about the money that he got. It's not even about that. It's not a terrible contract. It's not one, this is not Ezekiel Elliott a few years back with the Cowboys when he signed that contract, you said to yourself, this is insane. Like you don't pay running backs like this. And the Cowboys paid the price for that contract, in essence, in comparison, especially his last 2 to 3 years. Um so I mean, this contract will age fine. Like, this contract will age well. That's not the problem. The problem is you didn't have to pay him, to be honest with you. Um, and you spent the better part of the offseason saying that you would not pay him. And I can't think of a player that has held the team hostage and it turned out well for them. He's the first guy. He clearly won this negotiation. Like, it's not even close. Like, he won this in a landslide. He's getting the money that he wanted to get. Like, he never was asking for just insane, record-setting running back money. He never was asking for that. But if you listen to what Jim Irsay was talking about in the summertime, you would have thought that this was going to last the entire season. And, I'm not like, there's dysfunction and then there's dysfunction, but this is a different, it's rare that you are so dysfunctional that it actually benefits the player. Like, I used to see this all the time with Washington, with them giving out bad contracts. Now, again, I don't think this is a bad contract. But to me, this shows a different type of dysfunction. Like, Washington used to give out just insane amount of money to players who, like Albert Haynesworth's contract. And there are a number, like, I can go back to Deion Sanders. There are a number of contracts that the Washington gave out that had you scratching your head in the Daniel Snyder era. This is different because this is dysfunction in terms of, it's not about the money. It's about where are you going as a franchise? Why did you pay him when you were so hell bent against it? Especially your running back Moss is coming off a 156-yard game. We seeing a rookie in Miami, a rookie who is going to miss a couple of weeks, but was leading the league in rushing, right? So we know that you can find a running back, and it's not very hard. We understand this. We've been watching football forever. And again, John Patel is he was an all-pro 2 years ago. He's only 24 years old. I'm not knocking the actual contract. I'm not. I just question the mindset or the culture of the Indianapolis Colts in terms of with this decision. Which should be a surprise is, Jim Irsay, like, Andrew Luck and the whole, like, some of the dumb shit that they've done over the course of in the Jim Irsay tenure, during Jim Irsay's tenure as an owner. But this was a very odd situation, to say the least. Very odd. But listen, it worked out for Jonathan Taylor. And again, similar to Dak Prescott as far as trading, he definitely would have great trade value. There were a number of teams that would have been thinking that they're Jonathan Taylor away from possibly getting to a Super Bowl. His trade value would have been high. A 24-year-old running back that doesn't have a lot of mileage on him, who was an All-Pro 2 years ago, I myself probably would have moved him. I don't understand what changed. You were winning. You were actually playing well without him. It's not like you were 0-5. They literally had a great win without him. Coming off a nice win, not a great win, a nice win over Tennessee. Indianapolis is 3-2? I believe Indianapolis is 3-2 right now. So it's not like, the wheels have not fallen off without Jonathan Taylor. Yeah, Indianapolis is, they're 3-2. Yeah, they're 3. So they're playing excellent football right now. Acme from Miami is actually second in rushing behind Christian McCaffrey, but not that far. And guess who's third in rushing right now? Zach Moss of the Indianapolis Colts. So again, look, you try to, you will give yourself a migraine trying to figure out what these teams or what these owners are thinking sometimes. But the winner in this situation clearly was Jonathan Taylor. And listen, Indianapolis will be, listen, this is, he's going to produce. Like they have an excellent now 1-2 punch with Taylor and and Moss. So no, he's going to get on the field and produce, and they will be in contention for that division. That division is, them in Jacksonville. That division is horrible. It's not very good. So they'll be fine from a standpoint. They could be a one and done playoff team. But I just don't get what shifted from August or throughout the training camp onto up to this point. I don't understand what changed changed in their mindset in order to make this decision. Who won the week? The Pittsburgh defense. Again, Lamar Jackson had no place to go in the second half. No, like they were on him. Just like this picture was indicative of how they were on him. Again, divisional rival, so they're familiar with them. They've actually owned Baltimore they've won some like 5 of the last 6 meetings. All these games have been close games. But the Pittsburgh defense was dominant. I could have, San Francisco would have been an easy one. You saw a great performance out of Joe Burrow, so he returned somewhat back to form, and Jamar Chase. But this one stood out the most to me. The Pittsburgh defense against a quarterback that was playing great football. Lamar Jackson is throwing the ball better than he's ever thrown in his life. He really is. He's absolutely throwing the football as well as he's ever thrown it. So let's not lose sight of this loss and distract us from that fact. He's at 6 drop passes. 6. Let's keep that in mind. Stock up, stock down, stock up. It's rare that I have a under 500 team, a team that's under 500 with stock up, but I was very impressed with the Rams and have been impressed with the Rams the entire season. The Rams are 2-3, but they have road wins over Seattle and Indianapolis. So in Seattle was 3-1 going to a bye week. Indianapolis is 3-2. Their losses. Now they have a bad one against Cincinnati. That was on a Thursday night. We know it's Thursday night, but their losses are against the Eagles and San Francisco. And San Francisco game was a 7-point game. They played San Francisco better than anyone by far this year. Everybody else San Francisco has destroyed, but the Rams. And the Eagles, this game statistically was a one-sided game, and the Eagles are clearly a superior team to the Rams. But the Rams hung in there for the most part. For the most part, the Eagles defense was great in the second half. But if you heard me earlier in the summer with the 5 questions, I had no faith in the Rams. I thought the Rams were headed to a 4-13, 5-12 type season. I had no faith in the Rams. 0. Their defense has actually played well. They've done it without Cooper Kupp up until this point. He did play in the Philadelphia game, had a nice game, and you join him with this young rookie receiver they have. They're going to be. Listen, they're not what they once were as a Super Bowl contender. They're not there, but they will be in the mix as far as making the playoffs. Because once you get past the top half of the NFC, those last couple of playoff spots are going to be open. Those 6 and 7 playoff spots are going to be open, especially the 7th. So they'll be competing for a playoff spot. They have also, again, you want to look at an indication of how well they played, despite the fact that they're under 500 by one game. They've actually outscored their opponents 112 to 108. So that gives you a pretty good indication of a team that's playing better than what their record shows. So I was again thoroughly impressed with the Rams and the direction that they're going in. Stock down the New York Giants offensive line. So it's pretty hard. It's hard to play any worse than the Giant offensive line. 28 sacks and 82 pressures in 5 games. Daniel Jones got knocked out of the Miami game. Not that it would have mattered, but it mattered. It would have mattered in that game, but certainly for the season, we'll see how many weeks he'll be out, if he'll even be out this week coming up. But the bottom line is, look, when you sign a guy to the amount of money that you sign Daniel Jones to, your number one priority has to be to protect him. It is not hard to reinvent, to rebuild, to improve your offensive line. It's not. You can it's free agency draft. Literally, you can shift your 40% of your offensive line in one offseason. Maybe in some cases, we've seen Kansas City shift their entire offensive line following that Super Bowl loss to Tampa Bay. We saw them change just almost everybody. Kansas City even this offseason, Kansas City made a number of changes to their offensive line, because that's where the sausage is made. You have to have it, especially with these high value, high price quarterbacks. You can't go in with an average to mediocre offensive line, and it is inexcusable for the Giant offensive line to be this bad. Talking about 28 sacks through 5 games. I mean, that's 5 sacks a game for a mobile quarterback. And Daniel Jones is not a guy that holds the ball like Russell Wilson and takes sacks from that standpoint. No, he's just getting the shit kicked out of him. The shit beat out of him, and it doesn't matter who they play. You can get pressure on the New York Giants, on Daniel Jones and the New York Giant quarterback. Whoever's playing quarterback for him, you're going to be able to get pressure on him. So there's no way that this offensive line should be this bad. And again, it is not hard to fix an offensive line in the offseason. It's really not hard. You can get you don't even have to have a first round draft pick. You can get offensive linemen in the 3rd and 4th round that are quality. So the Giants are going to. It's going to be a long. It's already been a long year, but they are not going to be able to keep him upright for this season if it keeps going like this. And we've seen this ruin quarterbacks. We saw this with David Carr. Okay, we saw this with Andrew Luck. We've seen quarterbacks take so many hits to where they're not the same people. They're not the same player, and it just ruined careers. Couple thoughts before I head out. We celebrate a lot of random days. You'll have ice cream day. You will have this hamburger day. Shit like that. Today actually is a day that matters from a standpoint of one of those days in terms of it being World Mental Health Day. I'm excited to see the progress in terms of the awareness that has been made in terms of mental health over the past, say, 5 or 6 years, especially coming out the pandemic. And listen, there are a lot of resources out there that are to the benefit of us, are to the benefit of people, are to the benefit of everyone if you choose to use them. Use the resources that are necessary. You got prayer, therapy, confiding in someone. There are a number of resources out there, a number of them. Apps, you have a number of just apps that are out there. So it's not like there's a lacking of resources by any stretch of the imagination. We live in a world, and sometimes the digital world can be overwhelming, and talk about social media and things of that nature. But there are a number of things from a digital standpoint that are beneficial to you. And I just implore anybody to use those resources and not worry about what someone may think, the perception. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have peace of mind, then what the hell do you have? Like health is wealth. All right. And it's not just obviously physical health, but more importantly, mental health. So happy World Mental Health Day. Again, use your resources. That's my message from that standpoint. Nathaniel Hackett. I didn't think that in a week through 5 weeks that I would be talking about Nathaniel Hackett. But we are. And the reason why we're talking about Nathaniel Hackett is because of what someone else said about him. That's the funny part. That's the funny thing about the NFL. Of course, Denver, again, continues to be one of the biggest disappointments in the NFL. One of the worst teams just to watch aesthetically in the NFL. The probably worst coach team in the NFL. Again, I'm gonna repeat that. They are the worst coach team in the NFL. So you hear that, Sean Payton? You have the worst coach team in the NFL right now. Of course, the Jets with the Denver really controlled that game, dominated with their defense. Zach Wilson outplayed Russell Wilson. But that's neither here nor there versus what was the story going to that game. Of course, that was Sean Payton's comments about Nathaniel Hackett. And it's just, to say I can only imagine when a team gives you the game ball, and you heard Aaron Rodgers talk about this over the course of the week and after the game, they were locked into that game. There was no way the Jets would lose that game. No way. And you know that they were like treating that like almost like the Super Bowl. Again, I don't understand, but I didn't need Sean Payton to tell me how poorly Denver was coached last year. I could have watched that for myself, them being one of the worst offenses that I've ever seen. Not just statistically, but aesthetically, just as a football connoisseur of the past 35 years. I didn't need someone to tell me that. I could kind of figure that out for myself. So the idea that Sean Payton goes out there and rips another fellow coach was just didn't feel right. Like that type of energy just didn't feel right. And it's almost like the football guys are like, yep, okay, all right, Sean, we got you. And boy, have the Denver Broncos looked like shit on a stick this year. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think they've gotten enough criticism. I don't think Sean Payton's got enough criticism on how bad this team looks. They look absolute, like one of the worst teams in the league. Bad. They look dreadful. Horrible. So salute to Nathaniel Hackett. I'm not even a Jet fan per se. I'm not a Nathaniel Hackett fan, but I can't help but to be happy for Nathaniel Hackett, considering the fact that you had another coach completely just unnecessarily just shit on you for whatever reason. Like, again, Sean Payton did a lot of talking this summer. Did a lot of talking this summer, and his team is continuously getting their asses kicked week in and week out. What we need to be worrying here talking about is Sean Payton on the hot seat. That's what we need to be talking about. And should he even be coaching the NFL right now? How about that? That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. As always, this podcast will be up by tomorrow. Of course, we're still doing Snowfall. Episode 7, season 2, episode 7 is up right now. We'll be doing episode 8. We'll be doing episode. I'll be putting episode 8 out there later on this week, early next week, as you all know. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. So long.